3 ways to handle a conflict with a coworker. Welcome back everyone, this is Victoria from Psychant. Today in this video I'm going to tell you the 3 main ways to handle a conflict with a coworker. So let's be frank, conflicts are part of every workplace environment and organization. So these disagreements and tension are inevitable. No matter how much we love our jobs or career, the office can be quite stressful and competitive place. According to one US research, almost 85% of employees are dealing with a conflict at some level, and 29% of them are dealing with conflicts almost constantly. And these are pretty high numbers, aren't they? So, in fact, what this shows is that eventually, at some point of your career, you will end up in a conflict with a coworker. So instead of just hitting your head against the wall and thinking that the conflict will never occur, it's better to be prepared to handle it in a professional manner when that time comes. So in this video, I'm going to give you the 3 best strategies to handle a conflict in a professional manner with your coworker. However, you need to make sure that these are not like a recipe that the conflict will be resolved, but still they can guide your way of thinking, and for sure they will give you certain solutions in order to handle the conflict and still feel calm and confident after it. So the very first way to handle a conflict with a coworker successfully is to avoid catastrophic assumptions. So we have all been there. When we are in a conflict situation, we are under the influence of irrational thinking, negative emotions, and stress. So imagine you're trying to get something done and your coworker is standing in your way. Most probably you're going to feel very frustrated, confused, and even angry. So when you're trying to resolve or get out of this conflict situation, we are tempted to create a very negative assumptions about the personality and intentions of the coworker. For example, that they're selfish, they're ignorant, they're incompetent, and they certainly have some bad intentions to make you look bad in front of the management. So thinking the worst possible scenarios about your coworker will actually not guide you to the conflict resolutions. Instead of doing this, I would suggest you to start thinking with a clear mind and free of negative emotions. For example, certain positive assumptions that can kind of guide your thinking can be that people like your coworker are generally good and rational. Or, for example, that people like your coworker think about shared goals instead of their personal goals. Or that people like your coworker sometimes misunderstand each other. In many cases, the root or the heart of the conflict is not the person's bad intention, but in fact, it's a simple misunderstanding about a task that can be resolved if 2 people are free of negative thinking and these catastrophic assumptions. The second good way to handle a conflict with your coworker is to discuss the heart of the problem in private. So when the conflict happens online, it might be tempting for you to try to resolve things online. For example, via email, Slack, or Teams messages, or even texting. If you're really willing to resolve the disagreement and tension, I would say that it's really inefficient to try to figure things out online because this can make the situation even worse. Why? Because you're not able to see the tone of the voice or any facial expression of your coworker, which can lead to another misunderstanding. So I would suggest you to take the courage and invite your coworker for a meeting in private. If you're in the office, it should be one-on-one, face-to-face meeting. If you're working remotely online, it can be via video call because you will be able to see the person and figure things out. So while you are in this meeting, I would suggest you to spend a lot of time thinking and discussing the real heart and the roots of this conflict. In many cases, disagreements happen because two people have different perspectives and ideas why this conflict occurred. So sometimes it's not about something that has been said or something that has been done, but it's something that it hasn't been said or done. So figuring things out and figuring the heart, actually the causes of the conflict, can lead you to thinking about the best solutions to this conflict, and also reframing how your coworker thinks about this conflict. The third way and super important strategy that will help you handle a conflict with a coworker, but you can also use it in other interpersonal communications, is using I messages instead of you messages. So if you're upset, if you want to express your feelings to your coworker, I would suggest you to use I messages instead of you messages. What are I messages? These messages are in fact statements used in interpersonal communication which state the problem without blaming anyone for it. For example, you can say, I felt bad when this happened, instead of saying, you made me feel bad. So these I messages are very effective in a work setting because they're less likely to provoke aggressive or defensive reaction from your coworker. So instead of saying, for example, you are a bad team player, or you did this task wrong, or you made me feel upset, you can always say, I felt betrayed when this happened, or I felt let down when this thing or this task was not resolved. So try to orientate the conflict not on a personal level, but instead try to orient it around the company policy or certain procedure or the system. But just always try to avoid the personal attacks. So practicing these I messages are very efficient because that can not only help you reframe how they're thinking about the conflict, but they can also improve your communication with your coworker and in general communication in the work setting. Thank you very much for watching this video to the very end. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe to our channel. And my question for you today is, do you experience conflicts at work on a regular basis? Yes or no?